Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the most talked about financial authors in the last 25 years, has come out and said something very encouraging about Bitcoin. Entrepreneur Robert Kiyosaki believes that the biggest crash in history will arrive soon, and only Bitcoin, gold, and silver can help live through those hard times. Author of the popular Rich Dad, Poor Dad book on financial literacy, Robert Kiyosaki has taken to Twitter to announce the upcoming biggest crash in history once again this month. Bitcoin, according to him, is one of the assets that may help endure the hard times in the near future. The others are gold and silver. The best time to prepare for a crash is before the crash. No duh. The biggest crash in world history is coming. That's a bold statement. The good news is the best time to get rich is during a crash, which is exactly what I was saying. If you are positioned in a place where you can take advantage of a massive stock market crash during all the shakeup, while all the pieces are in the air, you position yourself to make sure they land in a good spot for you, you can make a lot of money. Bad news is the next crash will be a long one. Get more gold, silver, and Bitcoin while you can. Take care. Previously in June, You Today reported that Robert Kiyosaki shared his take on the announcements of further financial stimulus made by the U.S. government in March. Besides, some U.S. lawmakers have proposed a rollout of the fourth round of survival checks. One of Bitcoin's biggest virtues against the U.S. dollar and other fiat currencies is that no more additional Bitcoin can be issued apart from the programmed 21 million coins. So, I challenged you guys earlier to say in less than a tweet why Bitcoin is valuable. Bitcoin is valuable because it has a limited supply. Therefore, it can store wealth into the future, and it is backed up by a decentralized nature that defends it. That's why Bitcoin is valuable. I think that was under 280 characters. I have no idea. The point is, you want to be able to sum it up pretty quickly. The reason that Bitcoin has value, just like gold and just like silver to a lesser extent, and Robert would probably agree with that, but very similar to gold, is that it has a very, very predictable and low supply. The reason that's valuable, you hear all the time about people saying, oh, we're printing the U.S. dollar into oblivion. It's going to inflate the economy. It's going to inflate the U.S. dollar. It's going to bring down the value of your dollar. That's because the U.S. dollar does not have a limited supply. Whenever something has a limited supply, it can have value. Look at a supply and demand curve. If the supply could just go wherever you want it to go, then the price is naturally going to go down. If I had 10 computers, would I value each one of them as much as I value this one computer? No, because I have 10 of them. You know, I wouldn't be as careful with them because I don't value each individual one as much. But if I only have one, I'm going to take good care of it because I don't have a backup. Have you ever noticed when you were a kid and you were 12 and you got like a toy truck that was worth like $5? You took care of that thing, right? You didn't want that to break because you didn't have any money to go and get another one. Nowadays, we're adults. I'm like, oh, I can go buy all the toy trucks I want or whatever it is. You don't value things quite as much if you have a lot of money because it just isn't that valuable compared to how much value you have. That's the problem with printing the US dollar. That's the problem with printing fiat currencies, and that's why Bitcoin has value, is because it has a limited supply that is hard capped and supported by the decentralized network that is the blockchain of Bitcoin. I'm very happy to see Robert Kiyosaki say this. I am interested in, Tim, your take on his prediction of a very big and long crash.
Robert Kiyosaki is a great person to look at to learn how to handle money. He's great at investments and timing things. He is not the greatest indicator of what is happening with world economics. This call is probably outside of his bounds of what he's able to do with a lot of accuracy. So I'm kind of in the same boat there. I think Robert Kiyosaki is great at helping teach people how to handle their money. I think his advice is solid. I think he is right in the sense that we are seeing fiat currencies every single day get lower and lower and lower in value. But to predict a massive crash, he could be right. Here's the thing, though. I think if he is right, I don't think. All right, so I've said this story before. I was told by somebody to get into Bitcoin back when Bitcoin was at, I think, $3,000 was where I was. Now, I do not regret not getting into Bitcoin because the reason the person gave me was not a solid reason. Now, do I wish I'd gotten in Bitcoin at 3,000? Absolutely. But I do not regret not getting into it for the reason he said so. And the same way, if Robert Kiyosaki is correct, I think, okay, that's interesting. But I don't think Robert Kiyosaki is the guy who is able to accurately call those kinds of crashes. I don't think people should make financial decisions based off of a crash being predicted by Kiyosaki. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's one thing that we talk about a lot here on the channel is don't follow people blindly. Just because they're rich and famous does not mean that they're perfect. Just because they show up in news articles or they have a YouTube channel or they're on television does not mean that they're perfect. It doesn't mean that they're infallible. You know, one of the things I really, really hate about financial media is whenever I see an article or a post and it says, this person perfectly predicted the 2008 financial crisis and now he says this. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know? The weatherman predicted there was going to be a hurricane coming through today. There was not one. That's fictional, but you get my point, you know? Just because you get one prediction right does not mean you're going to get everything right. Now, that being said, some people are far more skilled at that than others. I'm not discounting people that are very, very skilled in predicting the future based on technicals and fundamentals. I'm not discounting that at all. But don't just follow someone because they're famous. Don't do that.
And the other thing about this is Robert Kiyosaki is someone who pops up in the news from time to time, but the reason why he's popping up right now is because he's saying something that prints like articles. Like people want to post. I think at the end of the day, what's happening is the news stations are running out of things to talk about because they keep looping back to China and more FUD there, and they keep looping back to Elon Musk, and they're like, let's find somebody else to talk about. And so it's like, hey, Robert, we haven't talked to you in a minute. Let's see what you have to say. Yeah,
he's always showing up in the news. Hey, look, I like Robert Kiyosaki. I like him.
I do too. Yeah.
I like a lot of people. I'm just not going to follow them blindly.